There flows no soft blood in their veins, for they shall feel no mercy and no pain. Once a member of Azur Lane, these ruthless sharks have now allied themselves with the sirens and decided to play with soft jellyfishes no more, knowing that peace and love are just for weaklings. However, their betrayal is necessity, for peace can never protect humanity from the unknown. Hail Iron Blood! Azur Lane used to be a big, united alliance. Today, there is a division of forces that was created. Azur Lane members: Eagle Union and Royal Navy. Crimson Axis members: Sakura Empire and Iron Blood. Before, Iron Blood was the quietest, but they have a technological advantage because they have researched siren technology and copied it for their own use, creating riggins with artificial intelligence. They can't talk, but they're aware of what's going on around them. Over the past 9 years, their fleet has grown, but historically, Iron Blood is Kriegsmarine, meaning that surface ships are few and submarines mass-produced. In the story of Azur Lane, there is a focus on surface ships and submarines, and it has become common to blueprint ships. And in Kriegsmarine, according to history and research, there are a good amount of them. Now we will delve into Iron Blood activity and where their names are expressed in Azur Lane lore. First, we list the events in story order where Iron Blood has been active or mentioned. After listing, we arrange those events in the correct order that makes sense due to the character's activity, well-being, defeat, and coming back. Otherwise, the order of the story would be much more confusing to understand if the content of the events were not listed in order. Like a puzzle refrain, for example. At the start it begins the planning against the Iron Blood, but it's telling a present, and then the past. What happened? What were the reasons? And what motivation to create this operation? Which is hiding the other operation. And after that scene, we see the old operation underway. The only evidence here was the ship named Mikoyan to put pieces in place. So now I am planning to use in-game feature that is Story Flow Map to tell the Iron Blood story. There are some smaller ones that were not added in the flow map, like one example, the Hunt of Admiral Crash Bay. This required a lot of detective work about where all these pieces fit in the right place and in right order. In the past there was no in-game story flow map, so I had to use story information only to line everything correctly. Now that the game developers added this very nice and perhaps a God-blessed feature. It made the job a lot easier to piece everything together to make this document project complete. Unfortunately, as I made videos about this, the Iron Blood story goes forward, and more story pieces are added. I had to put this in parts to avoid making perhaps 5-hour plus long video. First is the war, being puppets of Sirens' experiments, and slow rebellion against the so-called masters. After the rebellion is perhaps the rebuild and recovery, which contains more secrets related to the Sirens, their origin, and perhaps cubes, plus metamorphosis secrets. I want you to keep Storyflow map in mind, because this is and will be a big puzzle to build properly. I do have to warn that my English vocabulary, and not being my main language, may bite me and will bite me, and you have no idea how much I had to struggle with just by writing notes down in my main Finnish language, then translating them into the English language, and later speaking that in the end. I have been dealing with that problem since the start, and I must point this out that some videos are almost a year old, and some writing as well. So if you notice some hiccups in the words or pronunciation, this is part of translation and self-made mistake along the way. And maybe forgot something from some episodes. I had to also shorten some parts to avoid making them too long, but also giving enough information about what Iron Blood was doing or what they did. As the old saying goes, no pain, no gain. This was a long and interesting project, and I hope you like what I found. And now I'm going to share it with all. Surprisingly, this story tells about a test event in the Mirror Sea area where Sirens, Observer, and Tester Beta will test the piece White development, whatever it is, although human evolution is mentioned. And the black pieces, copies of real ones created by Siren, are Iron Blood ships, Herbits, Graf Zeppelin, Deutschland, Karl Lutzow, Z-46, Hipper, Gneisenau, and Scharnhorst. Near the test field, Iron Blood U-boats U-47 and U-557 were ordered by the commander to secretly gather information. During the tests, Tester Beta mentions that already 255 times the pawn Deutschland lost. This indicates that the same test has been run 255 times, and mentions somewhere natural calculation system. The Observer further mentions that humans, or rather natural evolution, takes long time. To be brief, Tester further mentions this won't satisfy the judge. Mirror images we've created. I would assume that the Iron Blood ships here are mirrors of the original. During the tests, Herbits remembers his past, how she sank, and his big sister. Graf Zeppelin reminds Tirpitz not to let his own ego break by thinking about how the sirens let White develop, because they only serve as steps for its development, and that not letting his sacrifice to Ironblood be in vain. She must mean Bismarck. And how foolish she was. How to drown himself in idealistic delusions. And yet she was the one who paved the way toward a different future for people like us in this world, said Pawn Crash Zeppelin. Tester Beta only discovered the awakening response in pieces when Tirpitz started thinking about her own older sister and how she really is, who she really is. Tester Beta and the Observer follow the situation. The Observer mentions that if they steal a backup file from the original, it will disrupt the war outside, and how White development has surpassed natural calculation system simulations calculations. Deutschland, Hipper, Gneisenau and Scharnhorst are out of the game, with only Z-46, Zeppelin and Tirpitz remaining. After the defeat of Z-46 and Zeppelin, someone wondered. It was not meant to be like this. In order to become strong enough to protect Ironblood, to protect my allies, I made so many sacrifices, annihilated so many enemies, just following orders. I tolerated becoming a piece for our detestable enemies. Agaki, just what are you planning out there? Brands, Another World, Other Results. Finally, the Tirpitz piece, saying that this fight is completely meaningless, but decided to challenge White Piece determination. Defeated Tirpitz, Black Piece, hoping that if White meets the real Tirpitz, hopes him to say to her, I want you to fight proudly to the end. White exceeded the natural calculation system's abilities, and Tester decided to test White himself and mentioned how White's eyes, in the eyes of a girl who asked for strength when they saw the worries, disappointment and regrets of the future. How do you girls assume? U557 and U47 were able to record everything, from a fleet that reappears, that no longer exists, are concerned about what they found. The Observer found them, and they ran away quickly. U557 decided to save U47, which has full documentary of a test area. U557 accepted that she was an unlucky U-boat and challenged the Observer. At the end of Tester Beta performs the initial backup deletion, chatting about some checkmate for you. Proud of how you have evolved, how amazing people are. The evolutionary speed of this. If we can repeat the burning war, or the planned war, over and over again until they have what they need. Now he is sending White down the path where White himself believes in its destination with discordant voices. This is a tale before the existence of the Crimson Axis and the Vicia Dominion. Joffre, Irish Orthodoxy aircraft carrier, is on her routine prayer and soon starting her works. La Galicianaire drops on the cathedral, planning to use the so-called secret passage beneath there. But Le Terrible appears out of nowhere, and Galicianaire plan fails, and has to redeem by starting to pray with two of them. Instead of praying, she mentions what the tribunal discovered, that a handful of Irish relics have been smuggled recently, and Leeds points the Ironblood's bigwigs are involved. And those relics are the sacred kinds, those that should be in the cathedrals or in the palaces, according to La Galicianaire. This conversation stays short because Joffre and Terrible have things to do, and all three of them went on their separate ways. On chapter 3, Joffre is on the waiting room to pay a visit to the Cardinal Richelieu, and was surprised to hear Jean Bart's voice behind the door. Richelieu explained to Jean Bart what was discussed in the assembly, about the Irish future, to the operations that's about to take place around Europa. She does point out that the talks went too smoothly, which leads her to suspect that Bismarck is up to something. Or maybe Irish Orthodoxy's higher-ups are planning something. She asks her sister, Jean Bart's opinion about these matters, and she replies, Bismarck's a shark that smells blood in the water, and one way or another, we're gonna be the ones made to bleed. She also points out the Ironbloods recovering and reverse engineering siren technology and turning their own tools against them. Jean Bart seems to be already suspicious about this approach, how to deal with the siren problem. But she is also worried about the Irish Orthodoxy's future, rumors in the air, and what's on the horizon. Richelieu perhaps tries to smooth the mood for the better, by saying that the Irish future shall never be threatened for as long as our homeland and the Basilica remains ours. Not even Ironblood can challenge that fact. Queen Elizabeth was also mentioned, and she too has plans of her own. Joffre realizes what she heard and tries to forget everything she heard and heads to the main hall. Northern Parliament battleship Sovietsky Soyuz announced at the meeting that it would launch a counter-attack against the Ironblood. The reason being Ironblood's attacks on cargo ships carrying equipment and materials to the Northern Parliament. Eagle Union aircraft carrier Saratoga was surprised and a little shocked by this announcement. She also suspects this would lead to a second reenactment, and also points out Northern Parliament's fleet's old equipment is nothing against Ironblood's blueprint ships. She also doubts whether Sovietsky found out the tests that Ironblood has been doing. Dragon Emperor light cruiser Yatsen doesn't agree with Saratoga that no one would intervene in Ironblood's attacks, because the situation already seems like another reenactment event. Also pointing out that the commander doesn't show any opposition to this plan. The Royal Navy battleship King George V also said that the Royal Navy would like to see Ironblood put back in its place. The discussion also revolves around the intervention and assistance of the commander in this operation, but Saratoga for some reason brought up, what if the commander declines, or is asked to help the Ironblood? It seems after the conversation, either Union gives support to ensure the commander's safety, if he accepts their request, and their presence prevents the reenactment from happening, and Royal Navy is supplying Northern Parliament in their war efforts against the Sirens. But Sovietsky is playing his own game. She has the information from the lost Mikoyan and starts planning to recover Kronstadt and the Polar Expedition team. The operation hidden under the other operation. While they were approaching the polar region, moored vessel, the Mikoyan, the icebreaker, guides the Kronstadt team to research base at the North Pole and the submarine there to conduct experiments on the meteorite. I want to put this small detail here. Kronstadt and Archangels chatted and mentioned adding lemon to black tea, and this has been practicing in Ironblood. Archangels, formerly the Royal Navy Kansen, was shocked by those who poison their own black tea with lemon. But here's all the possible things related to or mentioned about Ironblood from this event. Let's move forward to the next. The Vigia Dominion, the Templar Knights, is part of the Crimson Axis side, and John Bart leads Vigia and the world's fourth major fleet. In this story, the Royal Navy's 8th fleet hood with them after removing Siren blockade funded by Ironblood to to monitor Dunkirk's fleet's movements, then tries to guide them down another path. And by giving the options to stop Ironblood's progress. Dunkirk, a battlecruiser, receives the guests and gives a clear message. The Templar Knights will not bow to any foreign power, regarding Ironblood as well. Hood understands the point, even though she offered 4 options. After resistance, Richelieu declares the birth of Irish Libre. Two years later, the Eagle Union Task Force 34 joins with Royal Navy Combined Fleet to take back what Crimson Axis took, trying to liberate it, while John Bart orders to fire on the Allies. Massachusetts did much damage to John Bart, but an unexpected message arrives. Ironblood aircraft carrier strike group arrives quickly from the north. Prepare for battle. What is this strike group? Consider that Hood is still fine, i.e., his encounter with Bismarck has not yet taken place, but perhaps after 2 years, she suffered the damage. Saradegna Empire. Taranto was under Royal Navy air attack, and Littorio was completely taken by surprise. 3 days before, Vittorio Veneto wondered why Ironblood allowed the Siren to go deep into Saradegna's waters, even though they insisted on the safety of the Crimson Axis in Mediterranean waters. Littorio assures Vittorio that she will evict the Sirens, but the presence of the Royal Navy gives uncertainty after the Vicia incident. The Royal Navy makes its move and admits its mistake regarding Vicia. Warspite presented his plan to Littorio. Littorio, with his own ego, wanted to take over Malta, and decided to use Siren's activity as cover to defeat the Royal Navy presence in Malta. Littorio's plan failed, and in the midst of the battle, Littorio decided to go in search of the ergat carrier Illustrious. However, Littorio found Illustrious and presented himself as well as Illustrious. During their battle, Littorio-class peculiar torpedo shield, the Buckley's system, keeps him afloat. He admits defeat when Buckley's breaks after many blows. After Taranto's defeat, Littorio praises the illustrious ergat carriers and their armor, and how Sardegna misses this technology. And she wants illustrious sisters to visit Sardegna, while Vittorio praises politics a bit. Littorio suspects that Ironblood will begin to lose its patience with Sardegna, while Littorio asks Veneto which swimsuit she would choose. After a visit to Sardegna by the Royal Navy, Littorio received a loud response from Ironblood that they did not want to get involved in night battles. And the reason? Too many unknown variables. Vittorio doesn't like this because he sees them as cannon fodder and reenactment as game pieces. Vittorio decides to make one more bet regarding to be as Ironblood's machines and the power of the Royal Navy as part of the Crimson Axis, as part of the battle reenactment, or as a side to a new future, and claims that Ironblood is more powerful than Sardegna than you can imagine. So, Vittorio Veneto, the flagship bets, if they lose, they will join Azure Lane. Far away, however, were the sister ships Sarnhorst and Gneisenau, gathering information. They knew that the Royal Navy would outperform Sardegna's fleet with night air support operations and accurate hits on their radars. All this information goes to the Research and Development Laboratory. During the conversation, Gneisenau says, "Furthermore, Bismarck has finally begun to stir. When she returns once more, all the lands and seas will soon belong to us." Sarnhorst says he will go back and leave the observation to Gneisenau. Admiral Graf Spee, the Deutschland-class armor ship, panzer ship, has been searched for 2 months after many sinkings of cargo ships in the far South Atlantic, near the coast of Africa. The Royal Navy's light cruisers Ajax and Achilles and the heavy cruiser Exeter head to Rio de la Plata estuary. Along the way, they encounter the destroyer Lebrecht Maas, Jet 1. After the battle, Jet 1 lost consciousness. Ajax, Achilles and Exeter continue their journey to hunting the Graf Spee, but have a mission. Sinking the Graf Spee is not their main goal. In the middle of the day, they finally encounter the pocket battleship Graf Spee. After a long battle, Spee withdrew from the battle, as did the hunters. Exeter suffers such severe damage that she was ordered straight to home port for repairs. Ajax and Achilles, despite their damage, go after Spee. After anchoring at Admiral Graf Spee neutral port, Ajax were able to fool Spee with a lie. Nonetheless, Spee fights one last time, and in the end, sinks himself. Only Cumberland was there for them, Ajax admits. Ironblood destroyers, Jet 2, Jet 9, Jet 11, Jet 12, Jet 13, Jet 17, Jet 18, Jet 19, Jet 21 and Jet 22 are heading to Fjord. Jet 21 as their flagship in this operation, Weserboom, to take over Narvik. And the Royal Navy will not allow a neutral port to fall into enemy hands. Jet 2 points out that the Sunhorse sisters fought renown yesterday, and the day before that, Hipro was badly hit by a Royal Navy destroyer, so they are lacking ships, and HQ decided to send their destroyer fleet to capture a port for future operations. Royal Navy destroyers Hunter and Hardy are approaching the fjord, captured by Ironblood. After the two received intelligence and damage done to the Ironblood crew, they attempted to retreat. But when confronted by Jet 2 and his support group, Hunter was badly damaged while defending Hardy. Hardy escaped, but at the same time used all the fuel to drag Hunter with him out of the fight. Ironblood destroyers are for now stuck in their captured base. Stuck in Narvik, Jet 2 and Jet 18 talk to each other about how the operation suffered badly after the Royal Navy attack. So they sent a message to the entire squadron that it was time to retreat. But Jet 19 seems to be lost. Jet 19, on the other hand, wonders where everyone is going. But only now does she realize that her radio have broken down. The situation gets worse when Eskimo, a tribal class destroyer, finds Jet 19. Plus, a foxhound joins the chase. After the chase, Jet 19's propeller system is damaged when Jet 18 finds him and decides to support Jet 19 against Eskimo. After some time, Jet 2 destroyer squadron returns and announces that there is no way out of the fjord. Somewhere in the distance is Warspite. Leading this operation was told by Foxhound that the Jet 13 was defeated with the help of aircraft carrier. The Foxhound received the message that the Eskimo is fighting alone and requires fire support. Warspite and the Foxhound will head to the Eskimo in time after his rigging received severe damage. Warspite introduces himself, and Jet 2 also introduces himself and immediately tells him that Ironblood will not give up and will fight to the last. This impresses Warspite and fights Jet 2 and Jet 18 until the destroyers ran out of ammunition. Jet 12 and 17 attack from the flank, and Jet 2 and Jet 18 retreat deeper into the fjord. The battle is still going on and has probably ended behind the scenes. The Royal Navy was conducting an operation involving the Ark Royale, Glorious, Ardent, and Acasta. The aircraft carrier Glorious departs independently back to home port with Ardent and Acasta, two destroyer-class ships. On their homecoming, they face Ironblood's heavy cruiser, Admiral Hipper. Glorious took hits, but escaped. Meanwhile, Hipper returns to his squadrons. After his recent solo attack, which battlecruisers Gneisenau and Scharnhorst are part of it. Now they go after the booty. As happened in real history, battlecruisers sank the aircraft carrier Glorious and 2 destroyers, Ardent and Acasta. However, Gneisenau felt that they did not achieve any victory from this. This heavily feels like reenactment at this point. The most famous beginning prologue in the game is the historic Operation Rheinebahn reenactment, in which Ironblood's new battleships, Bismarck and a heavy cruiser, Prince Eugen, passed together. They were hunted down by the Royal Navy, Pride, battlecruiser Hood, and the new battleship Prince of Wales. In the confrontation, Hood got devastating hit that let her sink in, and Wales had to retreat and regroup with the other Royal Navy ship members. After Bismarck used the secret weapon, she ordered immediate retreat. Hood was impressed by such power and wondered where she found it. In her last seconds, Hood asked Bismarck why she betrayed Azul-Lane Alliance. Bismarck answered that honor and loyalty, only with great power can we truly save humanity. We just chosen a different path. I don't expect you to understand. Only those looking back on these moments will be able to decide who is right and who is wrong. My old friend, may we meet in Valhalla. After this, Cherso of Iron and Blood event takes place. Also sirens were watching from the distance. U-556 and U-557 in their first hunting patrol, searching for potential targets, cargo ships, or rather, Allies' convoys. U-556 excited, refreshed and dreaming of receiving the Iron Cross medal with the oak leaves, and being an ace with the other U-boat aces. U-557 reminds her that she would have to sink several hundreds of thousands of tons to be an ace with the others. U-556 is a little discouraged, but accepts the challenge and starts looking for cargo ships. After the first ships were sunk and the torpedo storage empty, they received a strange distress signal. The sender was unclear. 557 wonders if it's a trap and if the Allies have already figured out the Enigma code. U-556 suspects Bismarck might be in trouble. and head full speed towards the distress signal direction, while U-557 heads home to tell the others what happened. Bismarck, Ironclad's flagship, sails with the new heavy cruiser Prince Eugen in the Atlantic Sea. This story is connected to the passage Prologue, where Bismarck used his new power, which sank the Hood. But during the battle, Bismarck also received damage, and they affect Bismarck so much that he is forced to go back to the port for repairs, rode through Witsia waters. On his way, Bismarck remembers her encounter with the Siren Observer, who begins to talk about the future and survival and Bismarck's comrades. How they watched countless times her fall. But the point is clear. Bismarck received a black cube from the Observer, which gives more power. Confused, but Bismarck accepted it anyway. The Royal Navy is approaching, and the planes are making the first strike. Despite the blow, they do not slow down Bismarck. King George V admits in his thoughts how powerful Bismarck is. She vows that they will catch Bismarck and sink him. Some time has passed. Bismarck recalls his meeting with U-556, how U-556 asked for Bismarck's blessing, and the moment she took the oath to help Bismarck wherever she be. The memory is interrupted when renown catches Bismarck, slowing him down enough for the Ark Royal to stop him completely. Hit to the rudder. But Bismarck shows perseverance and stubbornness to fight until the last shell. Bismarck's armor holds up, but things get troublesome when Rodney arrives with his 60-inch cannons. Bismarck tenaciously fights back, but things start to change when Siren, Tester, and the other Sirens appear and start harassing the Royal Navy. The Tester goes to Bismarck and asks why he doesn't use that. Bismarck replies that using such an unfair advantage doesn't bring honor, and feels how the black cube eats Bismarck's wisdom cube, how it affects him, and therefore ordered Eugen away because she doesn't know what will happen to him. She shoots the Tester, and Tester receives orders to start the Awakening Protocol. As the Sirens slowed down the Royal Navy, thick fog appeared, and the mood completely changed as a large beam pierced the fog, and in the blink of an eye, it melted a gaping hole in King George V's armor. The corruption began. Bismarck came back, but she was surrounded by a horrible black and red aura, pulsating like blood. The Royal Navy rushes to Bismarck to stop him. During the battle, Bismarck laughs madly as a large ring of light appears around him, dragging countless Siren ships to his core and crushing them to dust. With all the energy that Bismarck had gathered in himself and aimed directly at the Royal Navy fleet, the great explosion occurred, blowing up half of his rigging. Despite the corruption, Bismarck was able to self-destruct the process and wake up from corruption. The tester updates that the test person was able to self-powered remove the Awaken protocol. Bismarck declared to the Royal Navy that Iron Blood would still have its own fate, before firing the final shot, showing how resilient she is, even though she is no longer able to fight back. This impressed everyone, and at his last command, King George V ordered all fire on Bismarck. At the last moment, Bismarck still remembered a conversation with the observer about the fate of Ironblood. Bismarck inquired about their fate, the fate of his comrades, his friends, and his sister. The observer did not like this, but Bismarck vowed to defend Ironblood and his people. This convinced Siren, and offered him the power of sirens to turn the cocks of fate by herself. If she can overcome his own limits, Bismarck, and can come together with the other her, alter ego, then she will get his answers. Bismarck, sinking into the depths of the ocean, finally free from the doll's strings, is pleased that Ironblood can finally choose its own destiny. U-556 followed the signal and realized Bismarck was in trouble. After fighting him, she picked up Bismarck and took him back home. At home, after the events, Tirpitz shouts with a megaphone at a little submarine playing in the water in the harbor. The playful U-556 calls Tirpitz a lady, made a funny backflip and dived. Tirpitz shouted angrily so that blood veins could be seen in his forehead. Another victory for the lucky U-556. Parzival of the Seas. This event happened before Bismarck Black Cube incident. Bismarck invited Blücher and Z-16 on a secret and important mission. In their conversation, Bismarck says that their opponent's identity is hidden, so they don't know who he is. They only know when the opposing parties contact each other. In this debate, Blücher says that everyone is on the border edge, and that Bismarck himself is in danger if they spread the troops too widely. Bismarck assures them that they have nothing to worry about. She and Ironblood have nothing to fear. Meeting goes smoothly, and Blücher wished Bismarck good luck to her own operation. In the test area, Blücher and Z-16 have been instructed to use pawn ships that are only from the Ironblood fleet. In their first test, they were met by a fleet of Siren ships and led by Z-46, which was equally pawn's copy like other ships. Blücher recalled that the Z-46 was still practicing his own rigging the last time she saw him. After defeating the Z-46 and mass-produced pawns, next came a support group that was only the Crash Zeppelin. The real Zeppelin was also practicing his own rigging, and therefore couldn't join Bismarck on the same mission Blücher mentioned. But they were surprised by how his rigging works. The Z-16 described it as awesome and powerful. The first installment is over. Blücher detects on the radar the Ironblood battlecruiser, Brunhilde. Both head back to the break rooms. Only there they get to call Brunhilde himself, introduces himself to them, and Z-16 praises his style. Brunhilde hears for the first time that someone praises him in this way, and wishes them good luck in future test battles. This test will not end until one or the other proves victorious. With this, Mirror C computer unit decides the schedules when the tests will start and are done. This test tells you more about Siren's robot replicas and how they learn to use their riggings right away, compared to real ship girls, and that Siren's technology has been used to upgrade Ironblood's own ships and riggings, making them more technologically advanced and stronger. But they have not yet reached their full potential, because no one fully understands it yet. Over time, Brunhilde, after the first defeat, she prepared himself better, so much so that the fighting began to be better on his side. Besides, neither side is allowed to leave the Mirror Sea until the winner is determined. At one point, she had more of an Ironblood carrier in the fleet, and even an Ironblood version of Seydlitz, meaning Tallinn. The Blücher and Z-16 began to notice that the Mirror Sea began to be against them, as it began to produce more carriers and cruisers to Brunhilde, while the Plugger and Z-16 only got more submarines and destroyers. In the middle of the test, they began to wonder why no outsider had called them. Z-16 cast doubt on whether Bismarck might have failed his own operation. Plugger immediately throws back that she couldn't because she is the flagship of Ironblood and the strongest of them. Even claimed that the Royal Navy feared how unsinkable she was and would endure its battle. In the second battle, Plugger and Z-16 decide to make a surprise attack on their opponent's aircraft carriers. Wolfpack tactics. But the plan does not go through properly, because Ulrich Pohn was in front of the Plugger's detachment, and Ulrich Pohn defeated the entire fleet alone. Plugger and Z-16 are starting to get frustrated with how they had to do test battles with pawn to pawn each other every day, and that Brunhilde's own pawns just started to get much stronger. Now that the final battle had been fought, and Brunhilde at their place victorious, she admits that Plugger and Z-16 pawns were unfairly divided from the start, and were also subject to various restrictions. Sometime later, Prince Eugen and Friedrich der Große came to pick up the trio from the Mirror Sea test area. During the conversation, Brunhilde thought she would be able to return to his own naval division, but Friedrich said that the members of that department had been reassigned. But the details don't stop there. Plugger mentions that his team was winning, but then Brunhilde's pawns got stronger, and even Bismarck pawn lost to some new battleships. Eugen was interested. She wondered if reenactment had ripple effects that even affected the test side. Then the whole group headed out of the area. One last but important detail is the last conversation between Bismarck and Friedrich. Bismarck has concluded that she intends to use the Black Cube in his own destiny. As long as the reenactment exists, Ironblood is not free from Siren's control. Whatever happens to him, Friedrich takes over from him. Besides, she is the key person to communicate with the Sirens, because the Observer trusts him. Eugen knows nothing about Bismarck's plan, because she wants his play to be realistic, but trusts Friedrich that she will tell him about this. Friedrich discovers that Bismarck has not planned to save himself, and Bismarck says that there is no need for it. She considers that she has zero chance of dominating the Black Cube. Bismarck justified the reason that this is exactly why she takes that risk. If she could at all, would she still be himself? She pointed out that they know how the black cube works. The more it sinks with you, the deeper its corrosion goes into you. Bismarck is confident that it doesn't matter who or what she becomes. His destiny is to sink here. Be it either from the hand of the Royal Navy or from siren technology. As long as she lives, this reenactment will never end, and Ironblood will never be able to build a future of its own. She even wants to make sure that she is the final sacrifice, to be sacrificed to the Siren's own chess game. Friedrich doesn't allow it, and vows to free Ironblood from the shackles of fate. She and the commander are both essential for the new future, no matter how long or at what cost. Bismarck understands the matter and keeps Friedrich's plan in mind, waiting to hear her symphony one day. This story comes probably after the Bismarck event in the game, but U-556 says she himself received orders from Bismarck for their mission twice. And sure enough, the U-110 carries the famous Enigma machine, as well as a codebook. She even put Ironblood HQ in a panic just by playing and sending word search puzzle. U-556 received a new assignment from Bismarck and visit elsewhere for a while, leaving U-110 alone. The cargo fleet will be guarded by Bulldog and Amazon. Amazon doesn't like how Ironblood U-boats bullies them with codes. Bulldog very bluntly says how Amazon ended this situation embarrassingly, and how it will affect his reputation if she vents some of his frustration on students. Since there is a lot going on here, but a little at the same time, I will write briefly. Eventually, Bulldog and Amazon find 110. They are chasing her. Bulldog surprisingly brings up from his memory how Amazon monitors other people's figures, especially Signet. 110 also admits, I don't know why, and doesn't know if she likes big ones, but is Sir Hipperwood. What? Maturity, yep. 110 got caught, but U-556 rescues her and escapes. But Enigma machine is now in the Bulldog's hands. She managed to get it with a little trick. Belfast, light cruiser from the Royal Navy, accompanied by the heavy cruiser Norfolk and the light cruiser Suffolk, escorted cargo ships to Aurora, Northern Parliament light cruiser that was receiving them. On returning home, the Belfast team received word that the cargo squadron was being targeted by Ironclad. Sheffield speculates if it's one of those ugly ones. Belfast confirms his answer, and the Sarnhorst chase begins. After a while, Belfast finds Sarnhorst, and sparks fly between them. Sarnhorst retreats, but Belfast bravely goes after alone, after his comrades were damaged during the fight. Belfast takes the second round against Sarnhorst, and the Duke of York arrives on time to help, and the result is that Sarnhorst sinks. But Siren watches behind the scenes. The Duke of York team heads north to launch Operation Tungsten. As a target, the lone queen of the north, Tirpitz. Victorious, an aircraft carrier as part of a team finds and confronts Tirpitz by sending bombers against him. Despite the heavy blows, Tirpitz does not give up or sink, reminding Victorious how Bismarck fought back. Tirpitz is surprised to hear his sister's name. Victorious was annoyed by how dramatic and stubborn she is. Tirpitz went on to describe the fate of the Ironclad battleships, to leave it in the hands of others and be forgotten without achieving anything. So Victorious turned around and claimed how lucky Tirpitz was because his planes ran out of fuel. Tirpitz were severely damaged, but not sunk. She thinks how unpredictable Victorious is, doubting they will never meet again, and wondering how far her compassion will carry her, hoping to find out one day. New York City was Eagle Union's strongest defense at the time of the first Siren invasion, and the war against the Crimson Axis calmed down a little bit. After Siren's massive surprise assault to NY City, Eagle Union strikes back their base in Bermuda Triangle, where Storm is active. There, the commander is commanding the Ship Girl fleet against the Sirens, where they meet mysterious person. She looks like Takao from Sakura Empire. However, her name now is Ember. Entire fleet in the present are firing upon Ember, but with just a single sword swing, planes, dive bombs, battleship shells sliced to pieces. This person's strength was beyond imaginations, and Commander started to compare her strength to Bismarck's strength. But Ember is much more powerful. The confrontation with Ember almost got Commander killed. But the other ship girl called Ash, who looks like Enterprise, stopped her in time. Sakura Empire, on a distant island, is a mysterious stone, Watatsumi. Watatsumi is able to create ship girls that have not been built or have no background history. Rumor has it that one catalyst was used, and the girl who always sleeps was born, and Watatsumi was the catalyst in this situation. According to the story, Suruga was created this way too. Akagi thinks of the best interest of his country, and is a little hesitant about old prayers and such. Ironblood Prince Eugen and Jet 2 visit this event. The mission is to collect information about this Watatsumi. However, the mission fails because Sirens attacks, and the unknown Ember destroys the stone. But it was a fake. And Eugen for some reason drank himself drunk. However, she dropped the hint, Plan Z. Akagi and Gaga escort Eugen and Theo. But Akagi wants to make a trade-off for sharing information. Members of the Ironblood, so forth and so on. And Akagi managed to catch the real Watatsumi while also uses it as a payment for the information. Did she really give it to the Ironblood? I suspect that the Vicia Dominion girls have been taken into custody by Ironblood. John Bart ordered his companions to be scuttled in the iris of dark and light, so as not to end up in the hands of the Royal Navy and pawns of Ironblood. But I also suspect they were saved by Ironblood, even though Irish Orthodoxy was initially attacked by Ironblood. Or Vicia Dominion itself saved them. On their way towards their destination, Richelieu's fleet with a couple of Royal Navy members encounter Siren's vanguard, controlled by Vicia members. During their conversation, Bairn recalls Operation Catapult and Dunkirk's line, "Puppets of the Ironblood." Richelieu states the fact that Irish Orthodoxy is divided now because Ironblood invaded their land, and now she must work towards to unite two sides into one whole united land again. To make this short, I have to cut a lot from this 2-hour-long video. Richelieu originally wanted to complete this voyage with Irish Libre members only, but because of how much Ironblood is involved in this matter, holding Basilica could have been problematic without necessary forces. So that's why Illustrious and Fortune is here to support Richelieu's mission. Algerie, on Basilica Island. She begins to remember his time in Casablanca harbor. Tea and delicacies, Le Ponitrier magic trick failed, etc. La Galissonière says she heard from a friend that Ironblood has started moving, hinting that they're planning on invasion. Moving forward in battle, Algerie activates the Skybound Wall, which is like a large energetic shield in the Basilica. However, Richelieu sees a great resemblance to Ironblood technology. Algerie, in the final battle, takes out the Black Cube, the same one that Bismarck carried in his own destiny. And now Algerie activates it and immerses himself in its dark force. The Basilica's sacrament kept it hidden. Richelieu remembers that Ironblood promised some technology throughout a three-way negotiation with the Irish Orthodoxy and Sardegna Empire. It is said that Sardegna received Siren technology en masse to import ships, but the Irish did not. That answer Richelieu did not get from headquarters. But what Richelieu now understands is what the cube is capable of. What it is capable of expressing. Directly translated, the cube sort of created the Basilica. During the conversation, the girls realized that by destroying the Basilica, instead of sinking Algerie, as happened to Bismarck, she would return to normal. Jane d'Arc thought and decided to challenge the corrupt Algery to give the others time to destroy the Basilica. Later, the Basilica is destroyed and Algery gains back her consciousness. Finally, the fourth ship joins. Gascon, Vicia Dominion ship, fourth ship of the Richelieu class. She is a blueprint, drawing of a ship, no history or physical proof other than a picture. Richelieu does not believe this, but Algery throws good information. Isn't that perfectly normal? The Royal Navy and the Eagle Union both have ships like that, as well as Sovetskaya Russia at the Northern Parliament. After all, the Azur Lane and the Crimson Axis are one and the same. Algery and his comrades retreat, but Richelieu doesn't want Algery to get away. After the fight against Gascon, Richelieu, Bern and Illustrious wonders what made Algery tap Black Cube's power. Illustrious says that sacrificing your friends for the sake of an experiment. I don't think even Bismarck would have made that order. If not, then who? But in the end, they were rescued from the chasing ships, thanks to E-26 and E-58. Did Ironblood put his own hands on this and ask the Sakura Empire to send submarines for support? But this is not how Bismarck usually does things. If so, who is behind all this? Algery wonders. Reminiscing, Richelieu remembers talking to Elizabeth, Vittorio and Bismarck about Siren's technology. As we know, Ironblood has studied Siren's technology for a while. Bismarck says that Europa only exists if we foster mutual trust. Richelieu asked what research into Siren technology gives. Bismarck replies that it's more than just a weapon. It's about the mental cubes that gave life to each of us. Abuse it, and you'll be swallowed whole. When E-26 and 58 made it to Ironblood, 58 asked what Ironblood keeps safe. Eugen gives it in a box back to them, requesting them for not opening it. The Royal Navy sends some of its ships to protect Eagle Union cargo ships that are heading towards the Northern Parliament. At this time, the commander is there to help. The only worries are Ironblood, who might try to sink the transport fleet. The girls of the Royal Navy escort cargo ships, and on their way, Ironblood makes its move. A lone U-boat U-73 attacks, and the Royal Navy defends the fleet. U-73 retreats. After the encounter, Eagle, Hermione, and Jamaica analyze the information and message they have received, perhaps from Queen Elizabeth, that Tirpitz and Sarnhorst sisters are on their way to the Barents Sea. From afar, U-101, U-81, and U-522 monitor the situation. Operation Nordlicht is the name of Ironblood's operation. At this point, Eugen teases Hipper if our mighty Tirpitz isn't the flagship this time. In the background, Deutschland, Hipper, Sarnhorst, Gneisenau, Raspe, and Tirpitz talk and sound positive about this task. After which, Perseus, Vampire, and Sheffield find themselves under the bright light of the Northern Lights. As Ironblood approaches, Perseus notices on his reconnaissance planes that Tirpitz and Sarnhorst sisters are approaching, as well as Deutschland and Raspe, also Prince Eugen and Maras Padu's ships. Somewhere hidden, Jet 2 and Prince Eugen are talking to each other. Jet 2 suspects that the assistant, Friedrich der Große, planned all this. And it is true. Eugen admits that Friedrich planned all this. Also that the submarines are the wedges that break the reenactment. Hipper, Jet 36, attacks Perseus, Vampire, and Sheffield. With luck, they escape when they are harassed by the Perseus planes. She notices how quickly the Ironblood fleet quickly joined Hipper. Perseus receives orders to send a reconnaissance plane towards them. And girls discover that the fleet is made for puppets. Speed is not suitable for a battleship, and air defenses did not fire. Tirpitz is not here. Far out in the waters, Poe, Valiant, Icarus, and Edinburgh discuss their mission. Poe realized that Bismarck has not commanded the Ironblood fleet directly and has delegated responsibility to an assistant, and both Tirpitz, Raspe, and Sarnhorst sisters have suffered varying degrees of damage during previous clashes. Moving ahead, we see Amether chatting to himself and hints that Siren Conductor designed a device that produces the Northern Lights. Jamaica, Hermione, and Eagle constantly receive strange messages, but their loyalty to Majesty is unquestioned as they follow a mission that Majesty personally give and stay close to the fleet. U-81, U-101 and U-522 make their moves. U-73, 522, 101, U-81. Fall back strikes. But danger is neutralized. Far away, Sheffield, Perseus and Vampire faces off against Ironblood's main fleet with their support fleet. Deutschland faces first, and Sheffield and Perseus are completely surprised when a dive bomb goes through him. Laughing, boasting about how Ironblood's technology is the best in the world. Then the entire fleet disappears. Only a few mass-produced ships remain. Their senses have been tricked. Hologram. Prince Eugen and Jet 2 followed the plan and concluded how their new device works and their interference with reenactment happening. The Sirens fleet pushed towards the convoy from the north and assumes that Ironblood intends to exploit them to encircle the Royal Navy, leading to the reenactment. Jet 2 understands Eugen's hint to withdraw and gives message to all the Ironblood girls at present. After the Royal Navy confronted the Sirens and destroyed the Ometer, the northern lights evaporate and communication works again, which surprises them that the transport fleet reached their destination. And Ironblood attacked Scapa Flow while their defenses weakened for a while, and Ironblood took advantage of this. After the time of the operation, Queen Elizabeth wondered if Ironblood had really been one step ahead all along. Remnants of the past swallowed up by waves. Hypothesis born from falsehood. She also thinks she shouldn't exist in that form. Her fate should have ended here at Scapa Flow, along with all those other Ironblood and Royal Navy ships. Now the attack is taking place. The Ironblood main fleet made an ambush attack. The truth that you've hidden from the Ironblood for so long shall now be ours, shouted Deutschland. I want to keep this short, so here's a summary. Shinano, an aircraft carrier, was created through Watatsumi. Akagi calls the observer and warns him if she touches Shinano with his tentacles and finger. The observer notes that Akagi got what she wanted from Ironblood, and Shinano woke up on Diadem of Light Island. During their meeting, Russia mentions that the situation in Europa has been strange. After the Ironbloods' attack on Royal Navy's Kappa Flow, they were expecting a full-blown engagement between each other. Instead, both sides have been eerily quiet of this matter, and the Eagle Union and perhaps Royal Navy was preparing to bring Commander back from Northern Parliament after the next convoy was escorted. The commander was in the Northern Parliament to investigate the underwater area containing more siren-related information. The team wonders if the Mirror Sea is just for hiding things in the so-called Mirror Sea, the concealment. The heavy cruiser Tallinn, formerly Ironblood Kansen, was transferred to the Northern Parliament fleet, recalls how Ironblood began researching Siren Mirror Sea technology at an early stage. Kirov remembers how she got the impression that Ironblood originally wanted to monopolize the fruits of his research into siren technology and refused to join the ranks of the Azure Lane superpowers for this reason. At first, Ironblood was not the primary target for the first wave of siren attacks. Ironically, their meddling in the siren technology stirred the sleeping beast, so to speak, and they suffered devastating losses as a result, said the cruiser Kirov. Tallinn admits that Ironblood is obsessed with Siren's technology, true and true, and remembers before she left, Ironblood already managed to disassemble the Mirror Sea components, assuming they are still solving technical challenges for the various modules, but don't know how much progress they have made. Later in the story, part 20 of the Blueprint ships, Kirov mentions their campaign of suppress against Bismarck, Jericho of Ironblood perhaps event. After that, Ironblood immediately got a mysterious new leader who took command from the shadows and stabilized the situation inside. That person is Bismarck's chosen sidekick, Friedrich der Grosse. Prince Eugen at Taranto Harbor, asking Vittorio Veneto to visit one of their bases as part of cooperation and information sharing. But Vittorio and Littorio cannot go there to attend to important matters. Eugen points out that Friedrich would really like to meet the Eternal flagship and his companions. Littorio proposes a compromise. Carabinier acts as Sardegna's representative. In Ironblood's floating fortress, Peter Strasser gives instruction for the upcoming AA battle exercise. Weser and Z-46 point out that Heinrich is playing or practicing. Prince Heinrich is a B-class armored ship that has not been built. She is a blueprint ship. She was rehearsing with his Rikin Eisen. Peter finds him, and Heinrich is just amazed how amazing Mirror Sea is, how quickly it created new target practices, dark tracks. Peter, after receiving Heinrich for an upcoming exercise on site, where Weser, Z-46 are waiting, they will start sharing instructions immediately. Heinrich is not some instruction reader type. There were small opinions between Peter and Heinrich, but the exercise went well. But Peter noticed communication problems and decided to investigate. Heinrich, Weser, and Z-46 noticed Royal Navy copies coming on unexpectedly, but did well against them until they reached Peter Strasser. The crew discussed with each other, and the fact that they are not the first Ironblood group in this fortress, and what error could be, and went preparing for the next exercise. Peter is wondering what the error could be, even though everything here is made of siren technology. But far away, there were unexpected guests: ship girls Sakura Empire Kongo, Yamashiro, Shogaku, and Suigaku. Then, siren models attacked them. Peter Strasser's group completed their training, and realizing there is a distant real battle going on, Peter speculates that sirens have entered the area, and orders to change trading ammunition to real ammunition. Outside of Mirror Sea's hidden Ironblood research facility, U-37, Nuremberg, Jet-28, Jet-24, Prince Eugen, and Carabinier arrived, and yes, they don't see it, but U-37 shows the way inside. After getting inside the facility, Mirror sees in chaos, and battle is going. Prince Eugen drew up his own plan and divided the group into parts, taking Nuremberg and Z-24 with him. On the way, Heinrich meets Nuremberg and Z-24 and starts shooting them because there was no radio response. Luckily, Eugen stopped the trio after visiting the Sakura Empire girls first. Eugen had ordered everyone in his own crew to reclaim the lost airfields. U-37 finds the Mirror Sea generator and a bunch of humanoid siren. Also realizes that siren needs to be brought out and used as bait, and eagerly awaits payment for what happened with the black cube. Peter meanwhile gains control of the factory's central computer and orders a full air force to attack the pawns who have gathered together. But some of the planes fall into the sea. Eugen realizes that the siren obstructor compiler is in the area and orders U-37 to destroy the generator. The compiler will be surprised and come out. Everything fell into place when the D-13 line with the real ammunition was deployed in case of an emergency. How sirens were tricked to stay under the impression that Peter's group thinks their own allies are the pawns. Tricks that seemed like the sirens were fooling them. Thanks to Heinrich, the illusion she accidentally created. Now Prince Eugen has set his own warning to Suyaku about the radio that operates on the Mirror Sea. Prince Heinrich fights the compiler. Luckily Peter, Weser and the air raid on the fortress surprise the compiler a bit, and finally all the ship girls arrived in the area. After heavy bombardment, the compiler retreats underwater, but U-37 made a surprise attack. Before the torpedo could even take a hit, Purifier contacted the compiler and asked about the sample. Having given it, after she self-destructed immediately, Peter lectures Heinrich to be better and doesn't call the siren an octopus or a cockroach. At the end, Eugen talks to Friedrich over the radio and learns that Peter tried to use the Mirror Sea to capture Siren, even though Friedrich ordered it destroyed. Finally, Eugen asks what Friedrich knows about meta. Hood gave a foreword to the upcoming NA operation. Operation Siren, in which Azur Lane will begin to strike the Siren's bases in the NAC. In the speech, Hood also hoped that the Sakura Empire and the Iron Blood would join this operation. But it is not easy to enable the creation of a united front. For now. Chapter 16. The Operation Siren is going well. On their way to the Bermuda sector, the Eagle Union girls are pondering possible moves by the Crimson Axis. Baltimore has heard that the respectable leaders of the Royal Navy and Iron Blood don't really get along. But the girls and the commander rely on Queen Elizabeth to keep control of the situation. A short distance away, their recon plane spotted the battleship Tirpitz and her convoy heading towards Bermuda sector. They hope Iron Blood knows about Operation Siren. They further speculate why Tirpitz is here, in the Eagle Union waters. Is it his own choice, or imposed by a high authority? They can't take risks, even with Elizabeth at the negotiating table, so they took control of the situation. They established communication with Iron Blood's fleet, and Tirpitz answers the call, asking if there is anything to discuss, presenting an option to chat in person. This surprised the Eagle Union fleet, and apologized for not knowing C was entering their sector, and asked them to turn back to their own waters. Deutschland indicates that this is the territory held by Sirens, to his knowledge, and spoke further of the territory chosen by the Eagle Union leadership itself as their territory, and so on. Tirpitz was forced to reverse his banter, saying that she does not wish to interfere with Eagle Union operations, and they have no desire to cross the borders of the Eagle Union. But this area where they are now is not Eagle Union territory. If they object to their presence here, then they need to find out personally. The Eagle Union fleet noticed the Iron Blood fleet is making an attack formation, even the planes as well. Saratoga calls and informs Elizabeth of a message that Friedrich finally managed to bring Iron Blood to ceasefire. Enterprise and the commander's fleet at the same time report that they were under attack from Iron Blood. But at the same time, they were gone. Planes, ships, everything. This came as a shock to Saratoga, because if the announcement reaches Iron Blood headquarters that Eagle Union and Iron Blood were fighting in Bermuda territory, getting a ceasefire would already be completely off the negotiating table. North Carolina doubts whether Iron Blood used the hologram trick again, based on the Perseus information. But Saratoga suspects that this may not have been Tirpitz himself, but Siren Pond. Be that as it may, this situation now remains a mystery. Elizabeth drops into the middle of the conversation and heard everything. After warnings and an update on the situation, she says the Hood's fleet is making a good progress and asks the commander's fleet to meet them in the rendezvous point. Chapter 2 1-10 Queen Elizabeth is heading to negotiation table to get ceasefire between Crimson Axis and Azure Lane during Operation Siren to stop the squabbling between the factions. Elizabeth notices that Hood is concerned about their top brass, or perhaps Friedrich, but sees them suspicious too. Moving forward, the Royal Navy is advancing towards NA Ocean Center, helping the Eagle Union and the commander to push Sirens off. Queen Elizabeth contacts the task force that Hood leads and mentions that the ceasefire agreement with the Iron Blood is success, meaning the fight between the two is not possible, but it was almost torpedoed by the Tirpitz incident. Chapter 3 1-3 During Essex fleet mission, they started to speculate about Tirpitz's encounter. And was she real or a pawn? Memphis picked up Ironblood's strange moves. After the invasion to Scarpa Bay ended, Ironblood went on a secret mission through the canal into the Eritrean Sea. TB analyzes the data and reports that the sea is under the joint responsibility of the Royal Navy and Dragon Emperor. Chapter 4 1-6 Akagi heads to the Mediterranean with his own fleet, where she chats not only with Littorio, but also with Elizabeth and the future Ironblood representative, Friedrich. But the meeting was cut short after the strange Tirpitz affair for Elizabeth. Later also left the Akagi's group heading towards Dakar, where she waits for the gift promised by Ironblood. There is a Jet 2 receiving the Sakura fleet. There, Akagi sees a lot of the research done by the Ironblood's laboratory, including their reductionist view of the Wisdom Cube study. Before leaving, Akagi asks Jet 2 what Ironblood is doing in this operation. Jet 2 can't answer because she doesn't know what Friedrich is planning, but she knows that Ironblood has moved to NA Ocean, and we'll see if everything is operating in the area she has received. Isn't it technically part of a joint operation? So she suggests asking Friedrich himself, who is in Sardegna, Taranto. For Akagi, this is not important now. So she got a Z2's iron blood quality communication radio. Agagi's crew reloaded their ammunition at Dakar port and set off towards NA Ocean. Agagi is somehow grateful for the information Ironblood provides. But because Ironblood is strict about keeping their information secret, she thinks you have to get everything with your own hands if you want something. Chapter 5, Part 14 and 25. The commander had launched an attack on Siren's Nest in the middle of Atlantic Ocean. And there they discovered Siren's floating fortress, which Ironblood is also building. They started to discuss how far Ironblood is going to research Siren's technology, even the old ones. And for some reason the commander knows about this, but let's continue. At the very end of the episode, in the middle of the Arbiter battle, Commander's fleet and the Ashes were surprised that Ironblood submarine U-47 appeared and provided fire support to the commander. They realized that the Crimson Axis also joined this operation. If you get a good ending, the Arbiter trio is defeated. Ashes and the commander's fleet somehow survived. U-47 retreated amid the chaos to seek more fire support. I don't remember how you got the right ending, but here were all the possible Ironblood actions from this story that I was able to find. Not much is said here, but Friedrich had visited the Sardegna Empire. Although Nicoloso da Recco described Friedrich as scary, Vittorio Veneto responds despite her appearance. Lady Friedrich is a great stateswoman who earned Bismarck's trust. Maestrale says in its report that Ironblood requested that Carabinieri visit one of their factories and get an expedition of Ironblood technology for their research in the Mirror Sea. Sardegna keeps communication with other sides, as well as a keen eye on Ironblood. And the commander returned to the Eagle Union after a long journey in Northern Parliament. After some time later, Pola and Julio Caesar faced the Siren attack in their home port. As soon as the Aegean Mirror Sea was removed, just when they thought they were facing a silent attack. Friedrich, the acting leader of Iron Blood, appeared and assisted in the situation. Akagi talks with Gaga, Yamashiro and Yinzu, who to send to Iron Blood for the fortress for a visit. Yamashiro suggests Mikasa and Shokaku Falls. Straight no from Akagi. Yinzu proposes to Lady Shinano. Akagi thought Shinano would rather take a nap than be where she shouldn't be. So she accepted the proposal. The cruiser Shikuma, the aircraft carrier Katsuragi, and the fastest destroyer Shimakase are at the Shinano mansion, where Suruka is receiving the duo. Shimakase was supposed to be there to tell them they were coming, but got lost in the mansion and found himself in Shinano's garden, where Shinano himself was. Shimakase only heard from Suruka that the aircraft carrier Shinano is next to him. She fainted because she didn't know who Lady Shinano was. On the way, the convoy also has the destroyers Himakase and Umikase in the same convoy. The crew spotted seagulls in the middle of the sea nowhere. Katsuragi found out, and intelligence found, the island actually the Dragon Palace, castle described by Shimakase. While looking at it, Shikuma orders the group to stay there until Shinano wakes up. Katsuragi's ego personality convinces Shimakase, Himakase and Umikase to explore the palace. More Shimakase because of fainting in front of Shinano. The destroyer Kasumi noticed when Shinano woke up and was asked if she knew the commander. But back to the point. Shinano reasoned that it was best to go and support the Shimakase squadron and explore the palace if it was a secret facility of the Sakura Empire or a silent trap, and orders Chikuma and the battleship Suruka to support. Yura is also involved, and when everyone is in the palace, it starts to sink under the waves of the sea. The girls notice that it does not sink as it should, but dives in such a way that a large air bubble-like shelter surrounds it and protects everything inside. So that this essay doesn't get too long, so I'll have to shorten this quite a lot. Team Shimakaze and Team Chikuma take the race to the center of the palace. But there are challenges and obstacles that require the help of another team, Team Chikuma, which also features Suruka, finds a trapped ship girls, Iron-Clawed Prince Eugen, and their new blueprint ship, Battle Cruiser Odin. She doesn't talk much. She is more of an observer and background support with Prince Eugen. Obstacles stand in the way, but Eugen knows siren technology. When progress began to be painful, Prince Eugen gave the instruction to Odin to shoot, and great energy beam penetrated through the enemies. The girls of Sakura were shocked by this great force. Even Shimakaze team felt that who was far from Suruka's team. When both teams reached the heart of the palace, there was a treasure, probably closed. An aircraft carrier Hakuryu, a Sakura Empire blueprint ship, and a Dragon Temple Guardian. Sir, Hakuryu wants to fight immediately. And the other girls survived this battle thanks to Shimakaze's speed in activating castle defenses in their favor, and Eugen to teach how to activate the Siren Palace machines. And Hakuryu promised to come with the others, and Eugen finally turned off the research equipment. Everything went as it should at the end. But before the scene chaos, Nagato, Mikasa and Shinano chat about Blueprint Hakuryu and where she came from. Then Shinano headed towards Iron-Clawed. Back to Chaos part. Set 2 and Prince Eugen months ago, Sakura Empire, they go back home. Eugen in good spirits because Agaki plans to exchange Watatsumi as well. Thiele suspects Agaki will be too visible if that happens. Eugen is not worried because, thanks to them, Watatsumi is safe. But they can't get away freely, as Battleship Tosa, Gaga's other sister, Destroyer sisters Inazuma and Ikatsushi were waiting for them, ordered by someone who knows Agaki well. This story tells about a secret operation by Iron Blood. First, Friedrich, a blueprint ship and executor of Bismarck's will, in a dark room watches and listens to the reports. Here are a lot of scenes related to past events. First, Turpitz reports that the Scapa Flow captured from the Royal Navy has been secured. No other body has made a major move. Over the NAC and Bermuda, they are cooperating in joint operations and research ventures, just as instructed, but are staying in position. The next is U-47, reporting orbiter in the study, with no results, found one of their vessels, but they couldn't get any information out of it, continuing as they could. Friedrich sits and listens to reports, like as Bismarck did. Peter Strasser reports that equipment and combat troops have been transported to the Tower of Midgard, and active camouflage is operational. Then Prince Eugen. She asked if she didn't need him. Eugen's mission is directed towards the Sakura Empires, greeting dear customers and showing their important discoveries to them. After a brief conversation, Friedrich looks at the Royal Navy and Northern Alignment panels on the screen. The Naval HQ instructions were for the Crimson Axis and Azure Lane to remain at war. Having finished his conversation with representatives of other countries, Marco Polo from Sardegna Empire unexpectedly calls a channel that is only for emergency calls. On this occasion, Friedrich managed to close the last two panels before Marco appeared, avoiding disaster. In this conversation, Marco says she's busy with Vicia. I have little to offer you in support right now, but may you take their power and spread the glory of Sardegna, says Friedrich. Ends the call and right up. As it stands, Sardegna seems to have their interest elsewhere and will not be participating in the operation. The Ironblood has given much to reverse engineer Siren technology, investigating Siren capabilities, conducting reenactments, usurping facilities, integrating their technologies into special armaments, and finally, a singularity deconstruction expedition to shed light onto the mystery of the Siren's very existence. A project that was not possible at any point in the past due to technological limitations. But at last, after an experiment conducted on a floating fortress, after contact with the Sakura Empire, and after a counter-offensive in the NA Ocean, the doorway into the realm of the impossible revealed a crack. The Tower of Midgard, and the core of that project. Bifrost, a bridge that connected the singular existence of this world to the singularities of other dimensions. Something that would elevate humanity's understanding of the Sirens. The operation would test the things that the Iron Blood prided themselves in. Their technology, their combat prowess, and, above all else, their audacity to transcend God. In the operation region, the massive Ironblood fleet is ready for this important operation. Ironblood ship girls light aircraft carrier Elbe, light cruiser Magdeburg, submarine U-1206, heavy cruiser Prince Adalbert, and battleship Ulrich von Hutten. Starting the day in the canteen, when the singularity generator starts, the camouflage grip goes off because the generator needs a lot of energy. The defense systems are on and sirens appear. Prince Heinrich, Weser, Peter Strasser, Z-46 and dozens of ships defend the tower, while Ulrich's research team goes through the portal to Singularity. In other side, the entire team and an array of mass-produced ships begin their search, find information about Singularity, and find neutral meta members. This information was secret. Ahead in this story, Ulrich's team encounters new sirens types and a mysterious missile/rocket that destroyed them. Ulrich suspects they were an additional force sent by the commander, but turn out to be the Dragon Embrace missile destroyer An-Shan and the missile destroyer Shang-Chun. In this encounter, I take a note of a detail where they say, "Yep, we are doing recon here as per the commander's orders, and dumb luck, I guess we both open portals to the same Singularity." Their mission is secret, as is Ironblood's. They don't say why they are here. A couple of words exchanged and went in different directions. Ulrich did not follow the Dragon Embrace girls, as she trusts the commander and his beloved ship girls. During this mission, Ulrich's team finally found, wondering but also hurt, Gneisenau meta. Ulrich had to use some firepower to calm Gneisenau, but decided to bet. Can she change Meta's mind? She gave her a paper. In that, Gneisenau memories woke once more, and the name Bismarck gave the extinguished life back to the Meta. After all, Gneisenau meta world branch is more different than the one where the commander lives. Same goes with the Friedrich, because Meta did not know the name. She did not almost believe the letter, but Ulrich knows that. Bismarck Gneisenau knows is not the same Bismarck that Ulrich knows. Gneisenau world. Bismarck also used the black cube and the hefty price it means. In her memories, she recalls her days with her Iron Blood members, the flag, her leader, and a person trying to bring all factions together. She wants to see Bismarck and decided to fight with Iron Blood again. With a new ally, Ulrich team heads back to the tower. However, going back, they also met from the ashes Scharnhorst Meta. She wanted to have Gneisenau as well because how dangerous she is with that power. Thanks to ashes, she can learn how to control her power. Plus, she is her sister from another branch. In Gneisenau's past, she lost her sister in metamorphosis process very front of her eyes. When the cube corrupts the whole, the erratic emotions caused by the withdrawal symptoms of cognitive awakening. Scharnhorst warned that they won't have much time. Same goes with her. That time ran out. Sirens are here. After Iron Blood fleet and Metaship's combined power, they won the battle. During conversation after the battle, Scharnhorst slipped about world fragments buried there, in the Winter's Crown. Code G, or rather Enterprise Meta, called and heard what happened, but she didn't mind about slipping information. It was about to be found sooner or later. But the Arbiter lovers are closing in, and taking that head on is dangerous. Ulrich takes this opportunity to data mine it. Scharnhorst was not happy about the plan, but portal behind them and massive Iron Blood fleet there to support, it was like a perfect trap. Scharnhorst was about to leave, but sometime later, Gneisenau felt something was not right, and all decided to follow her instinct. In truth, she wanted to save her. And there she was, unconscious after facing Lover's vessel and Enforcer's ambush. They all decided to save and bring her to Iron Blood to heal. Ulrich mentions that thanks to the information Commander shared with them, they are aware of Enforcers and Arbiter's abilities. Sirens started to make more direct attacks on the rescue team until the vessel itself became in sight, chasing Ulrich team and Metas. Thankfully, a reserve fleet with Rune and mines in there to back up retreating personnel. Lover's vessel was aiming in the tower. With a strong hit, it caused distortion and destroyed the tower and the vessel into atoms. In the other side, everyone is back home and safe, but unconscious. Heinrich and Z-46 were in the control room to prevent the blast from destroying themselves as well, but in the process, Eisen did some damage, and it caused everyone to land a little harder. Apology letter was demanded. Somewhere in the homeland, Friedrich reported to Bismarck how the tower project went. Bismarck sounds pleased and wants to fire the first shot if they attack first. Friedrich points he needs Commander's help in the future in this. Iron and blood above all, for the sake of our great victory and the Iron Blood's bright future. Marco Polo read the report about the tower project. She boasted about the weird name and all that, but decided to give congratulations of success. In the Eagle Union PH base, Saratoga was super confused about the stack of reports and John's investigation in the Singularity that Ironblood opened the gate in it. The only problem Saratoga and Commander had, it was almost impossible to conclude what happened there, thanks to the lack of information. Ironblood prided themselves in their secrecy. Reports do say the ship girls are in there, but the movements are not clear. However, in the photos Saratoga put note together between Singularity and the tower in there, the massive energy reading and losing contacts. But things got surprisingly worse. Northern Parliament sent message to the commander directly to Naval HQ. The contents shocked Saratoga. She hurriedly ordered commander to read it. Thanks to the Azulane aid, they can turn the tides against the Sirens. Once again, we will begin our counter-attack against Ironblood. We hope for your participation. Sowiecki Sojusz. In this story, an ceasefire agreement and Ironblood forces thin, Pamiat Mercuria and Aurora are searching from the waters something hidden in Mirror Sea that's under Ironblood's control. Aurora and Pamiat recall working together with old Ironblood, which was metaphorically Maverick for Pamiat. When the Sirens attacked for the first time, Ironblood was the first to respond and suffered serious losses. After that, the other parties joined together and created the Azur-Lane Alliance. At this time, Pamiat wonders why Ironblood decided to attack Scapa Flow, an important port of the Royal Navy. What is important here is that Kansen ships started arriving around the time of Pamiat, and some have now retired. Some have been sunk, taken out of service, or scrapped. And meaning most of all who fought in the first Siren War. During their search in the Siren facility, they found long-lost ship, the Mikoyan, and brought it back home. Kansen, Sovetsky Soyuz, talking on the radio with someone. The conversation revolves around how his reliable source of information sent information about this area. How reenactments brings the destruction of Ironblood. How Ironblood was built using Bismarck's power. Bismarck, are you taunting me or praising me? Asked a person on the radio, or Kansen. And how the commander's force can save parties from these repeated reenactments, which brings destruction to all who is part of it. The commander came back a few days ago from the Eco-Union Sea of Stars facility. In his thoughts, he wondered deeply how the Sea of Stars could have been kept hidden in that size. Wondering how Sea of Stars circulates the ideas about utilizing Siren technology, how it dodges the potholes where Ironblood fell, and how different it is from the path the Northern Parliament chose. Blueprint battleship Georgia, also a destroyer Elkridge, who is with the commander on the command ship, planning a multi-party concerted operation, including admitting that they do not know where the current leader of the Ironblood fleet, Friedrich der Gross, is. This story is part of the end of Aurora Noctix. Battleship Queen Elizabeth saw it and was on the spot as Kappa Flow, which Ironblood took by making a surprise attack on the Royal Navy base harbor. But instead of a bigger battle, an unexpected period of calm came. No one knows what's going on behind the scenes. Is this a trick designed by Ironblood, Royal Navy's cunning objection, or a greater truth that is above small conflicts? This orchestra is the largest that has been seen. Somewhat surprisingly, Sakura Empire Jinsu, Suikaku, Gaga, and Agagi are approaching Scappa Flow because Friedrich wants to show them something interesting. Once there, Scappa Flow, Aegir, and August von Parzival waited for Agagi's team and escorted them to Friedrich, who is accompanied by Queen Elizabeth herself. To keep it simple, metaphorically, Friedrich is under the gaze of the Royal Navy. She is being followed, and Elizabeth is forced to cooperate to show what really happened in Scappa Flow when the First Sirens' War began. Rumors have been circulating for a long time that the Ironblood fleet in the First War sunk at Scappa Flow, while Azur just stood by and did nothing while the Sirens destroyed the fleet. Another rumor is that Ironblood used Scappa Flow to catch Sirens for their own use, but something went wrong, resulting in the Royal Navy getting caught in the crossfire between Ironblood and the Sirens. Elizabeth then announces that everything is ready to open the portal in Singularity. Friedrich expresses that none of these encounters will break her child's wishes, i.e. Commander. Azur and the Commander begin to make their moves. There is no time to lose. When water begins to boil and turn into steam, when the gate of Singularity opens, on the other side, waiting for the reality of what really happened in Scappa Flow. Viewers are amazed, and Suikaku asks if they have to go through it. Friedrich explains that it is some dimension of the Mirror Sea in which the natural calculation system has recorded all events, which means that all the truth is there waiting to be discovered. Now the Ironblood fleet is starting to make its own move. August told Ulrich that Singularity is open, and she is on the roll leading a fleet that is playing more time for Friedrich while she is searching for answers. While giving instructions to the Navy, Ulrich tells Eugen, who is serious about the task this time, that Eugen will certainly like to challenge the commander, and Ulrich is not going to miss this opportunity. Inside Singularity, Akagi and Suikaku, Queen Elizabeth and Friedrich watch the Scapa Flow, which is overrun by fire. Many old ships wrecked and sunk all over the harbor. Although Suikaku didn't understand the whole picture, as soon as Friedrich answered Akagi's question that they had not gone back in time, but were looking at a memory copied from the real event, because Akagi thought that this is probably edited from the original, and Suikaku immediately assumed that Azur Lane left Ironblood alone in the hands of the Sirens. This idea is dismantled as soon as Elizabeth replies back that Scapa Flow is important to Royal Islands, and losing it would be a bad case. Besides, there are also Royal Navy ships among the Iron Bloods. Elizabeth admitted that in order for them to get answers about what happened at Scapa Flow, she had to collaborate with Ironblood. However, no one was keeping an eye on Friedrich, who was already making his own move. Friedrich walks among the wrecked ships, talking about their honor, shame, joy, sorrow, melancholy, and anger. Everyone watched as the wisdom cubes began to spin around her faster and faster, their light forming a halo. The light so bright that everyone had to cover their eyes. But when the cubes began to evaporate, their light began to form a figure. This is the moment when we saw the birth of the ship girl. Battle cruisers Seydlitz and Lutzow, battleship Thuringen, heavy cruiser York, light cruisers Elbing and Emden, Dresden class and Königsberg class in one. After a brief introduction and embarrassment of Elizabeth, Friedrich asked the question that everyone wants the answer. What really happened in Scapa Flow? Lutzow somehow guessed that this question would come, so she replied that they cannot answer it because they are not the ships that sank then. The explanation is that this singularity is a test site of what happened in the right place, but nevertheless they remember it more from the point of view of a person and not as a ship. This story is long, so I shortened the explanation more clearly. The Sirens chased the humans' Ironblood fleet, so they were forced to head towards Scapa Flow. There they were met by the Royal Navy Defense Fleet, as Ironblood was not part of Azur Lane then. They had to establish a temporary ceasefire and jointly challenge the Sirens' fleet. They received hard blows and returned fire. Ironblood decided to support the Royal Navy retreat, so together they had to go to Scapa Flow for repairs and prepare for the next attack. But the Mirror Sea fell upon them, and several Siren ships attacked. They attempted to escape Scapa Flow, together. But a bright light from the sky struck the fleet, destroying everything. And that's where the memories of the High Seas Fleet Ironblood members end. Friedrich suggests that they train with their new bodies on Siren's death side. How to fight and use rigging. Outside of Singularity, Eugen tries to buy more time by using an Ironblood radar jamming device to the Azulane fleet. Sometime later, after the emergence of the new ship girls, the crew in Singularity are searching for the Siren's superweapon that destroyed the fleet. Sometime later, the new girls have learned how to use those riggings and realize that the commander can bring Azulane back together. And so everyone inside the Singularity heads back to the real world. Outside, the commander has devised a plan and is ready to push through the Ironblood defenses. However, Ironblood is probably equipped thanks to optical camouflage technology. There is also the use of blueprint ships in combat. Then Friedrich's group came back from Singularity and closed it when everyone had come out there. Now, let the show begin. Emden chats with Kaga. Since Emden is an old warship, she believes that from the ashes of the destruction of the old Ironblood fleet rose the Crimson Axis Alliance in search of new allies due to heavy losses in the first war against the Sirens. Lutzo curiously asks Kaga if she is the ex-battleship that was turned to carrier. Kaga recalls if Amaki were still here, she might not have been converted into the aircraft carrier. Fast forward, the Azulane fleet begins to get closer to Scapa Flow. Kronstadt's fleet faced Odin and survived that battle. The Georgia's fleet faced Ulrich's fleet and won. And the New Jersey's fleet defeated Tirpitz. Ironblood is losing, but it's fighting very well. But in the midst of it all, many mirror seas appeared and cut off communication between Azulane ships. Now, Friedrich makes a move and approaches the commander's flagship, while the Siren's compiler approaches from another angle. Friedrich contacts the commander and explains that the observer, purifier, tester, omitter, compiler are just Sirens who do tests in test sites and are not combat-focused types. Only Sirens arbiters are designed to fight others, and have so far only fought the ashes, or in other words, meta-Cyprals. All this information is new or has been heard before. Memphis is caught off by surprise that someone was able to pass Sirens jamming, a voice that the commander did not expect, and everyone heard it in shock. Bismarck has returned and cuts all communications with the Sirens, and from this point forward declared a full-scale offensive against them. The commander was speechless. Bismarck, who was immersed in the darkness of Sirens technology, is back. Even Memphis was surprised at how Bismarck was able to come back, knowing from reports that she sunk into the Atlantic. Friedrich says that Bismarck was a dealer, and this is his will. Now, Azur Lane and Ironblood attack the compiler fleet from all angles. Figuratively, Friedrich laid the red carpet for Bismarck and gives command back to him. The compiler was confused by Ironblood's defection, cooperation with Soyuz and Queen Elizabeth, avoiding Naval HQ's suspicions, opening Singularity, contacting the Ashes, Commander's actions, and Bismarck's will. All of them were gambles, and Friedrich won them all. The compiler's vessel is at breaking point. She gradually starts to panic and asks for the reset sequence to be activated. Friedrich gives a clue as to what will happen to his data if it hits his mainframe. The compiler is shocked by this, and she doesn't understand how she knows about its location. He turns off the compiler's dummy and orders Aegir and August to blow the gateway wide open. Ironblood literally made a tear in space-time itself. Now, the way straight to compiler mainframe is open. Fast forward, Azur Lane and Ironblood have access to the compiler center unit within range of their cannons. She hastily tries to use history and recordings as weapons to change everyone's thoughts, but to no avail, and doesn't understand how the presence of a commander can change everything. Friedrich tells compiler that it was because of that test that Bismarck decided to collaborate and accepted it, the Black Cube. When Siren cared no more for the Ironblood's will, that was the end of the deal. The compiler activates a secret weapon that cleans the test area at once. The damage is great if the gun fires, so all ship girls focus on the Black Tower itself, which is the compiler's mainframe. Before the commander fainted because the atmosphere somehow began to become heavy to breathe, I suspect that maybe Emden somehow whispered to the commander that he would not give up. He survives and gives final order to concentrate all the fire on the tower, Friedrich presents one more member, Ashes Scharnhorst Meta. The tower's armor fails, and in the middle of charging, some of the energy was discharged from the crack, creating a gigantic explosion that destroyed the compiler's tower. This event is the biggest, because it marks the first victory against Sirens. And now there is one less. Friedrich further asked if the commander would like to come to the Iron Blood to help them, as they have now chosen a new path. The commander said that he cannot do it, because he is not committed to the loyalty of any side. But you have the option to let me sleep on the idea first. Friedrich gives one more tip to take a look at Summer's Island, because there is something interesting there. Friedrich makes another trip to the Ashes HQ, accompanied by the new Ironblood ships. He also says that Bismarck survived his metamorphosis and is able to lead the Ironblood once more. And here ends Rondo at Rainbow's End. And we have finally come to the end of this first part of Ironblood's campaign against the Sirens. Personally, I didn't anticipate this to be 3.5 hour long video, but I would be proud if you watch this to the end. If you've noticed, I put the abyssal refrain at the start, and I did it because the Kronstadt vanished a long time ago, and mentioned that lemon in the tea or something like that, and I would have put that first part after the Tower of Transcendence story, just because Soyuz declared counterattack against the Ironblood's effort to sink convoys and disrupt supply lines. If you also noticed where I put those smaller events like Hunt for Crash Spear and Glorious Battle, I made that according to what happened in real life naval battles, to follow this Siren's idea of reenactments. But this is as close I can to get them to make the story to make more sense to what happened to all members and also their comeback as well. When the next part arrives, I do not know. As much I love Azur Lane and the lore it is hiding this big puzzle, there are some story parts that I would like to make video like this one, but we will see that in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and see you later.